Michael Carnevale is branch manager and financial advisor. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, 400 Southbridge Street in Auburn, Massachusetts, 1-800-657-9126. A member of FINRA SIPC and are not deposits, not insured by FDIC or any governmental agency, not guaranteed by Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank, and subject to risk, may lose value. Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank is not affiliated with Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated. The information contained in this report does not purport to be a complete description of the securities markets or developments referred to in the material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Any information is not a complete summary or statement of all available data necessary for making an investment decision and does not constitute a recommendation. Any opinions are those of Michael Carnevale and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're here today. I'm Richard Morchoe, your host, with Mike Carnevale. Mike is going to tell us what to do with our money this month again. And this was a good month. So let's get to it, Mike.
All right.
January, you liked this? Well, this last month you liked.
January was really was excellent, after what we all went through in 2022 and all the pessimism that was building. Suddenly January rolled around and, Dow was up almost 3%. And that was the worst performer of all the indicators. S&P was up a lot more. NASDAQ was up over 10%. There's a couple of sayings that Wall Street has to start the year. One is the Santa Claus rally. That takes into account the final 5 trading days of a previous year, the 2 trading days of the new year, and usually if that's positive, it kind of bodes well for the year. It was positive by almost 1%.
Ho, ho, ho.
So that's better than down, right?
Yes.
Then you have the January barometer, which says as January goes, so goes the year. Got to be encouraged, because last year, if you recall, January was a big down year, and
Yes,
2022 finished down. So, these sort of historical sayings, they don't guarantee anything, but it's nice when it works in our favor.
So
And lo and behold, the Dow closed the month over 34,000.
look at the smile on this man's face.
I mean, that's less than 3,000 below an all-time high. Less than 10% below an all-time high. So I think it's pretty good. Interest rates fell, even though the Fed keeps raising.
And Richard Morchoe has to be the down guy and say, yeah, but it's inflation adjusted. All right, so you're definitely starting, and I took, and no matter what I said, the smile is not going away, I can tell.
No.
All right, get into the technicals, I guess, now.
All right. So, with the big rally that we had, in all the indexes, especially the NASDAQ and the Standard & Poor's 500, you would expect technically things not as good as they were a month ago, and that's true. You look at the 200-day New York Stock Exchange moving average. A month ago it was oversold, meaning it looked like potential for some type of rally. Now it's in the sort of the average risk category. Volatility index, was sort of average fear last month. With a big stock market rally, what happens? People become less afraid, right? So that index has weakened to an area of low fear, which is not good. The oscillator, which talks about short-term price movements, last month it was sort of toward the high end of fair value. Right now it's overvalued. So that means, obviously, because prices have really run up quickly in the short term. And then you get that composite fear and greed indicator, which takes into account almost 10 different technical indicators. last month it was really in the fear category, and it's flipped to the greed category now. So a couple of those indicators are contrarian indicators. You know, when you see greed high, that's a negative indicator. It means people are, you know, maybe being more risky. When you see something overbought, it means it's probably gone up a lot in a short period of time. That's not usually good.
Are we being warned that things could tank a little?
Things may level off. You know, none of these numbers, you know, if you look back, you know, months and months, none of the numbers right now are at a level where you'd say, wow, you know, there could be a pretty good sized decline.
So you just kind of
It's
evening out.
Yeah, you know, hey, this is great. What's happened in January may not continue in February, and if it doesn't, well, you kind of figured it wouldn't, based on, and that's all those technical indicators mean.
Okay. The major news, Santa Claus rally,
Yep.
and you feel that was a positive.
That's always a
know
positive.
that, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, by 0.7 tenths of a point.
Any gain.
Any gain is good.
Yeah.
So he's breaking out the firecrackers.
All right.
All right. World Bank has cut the global growth forecast to 1.7 from 3%.
Yep.
And they're also saying the U.S. from 2.4 to 0.5%. What does this mean?
Well, there's obviously a slowdown going on, right? And, you know, everybody kind of feels that. But notice they're still looking for positive growth this year. So, you know, we came out very recently with the fourth quarter GDP, economic growth. Economy grew 2.9%, you know, on an annualized basis. That was the second straight quarterly gain after we had 2 quarters of negative numbers. So, you know, all these people are saying, oh, yo, recession's coming, oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe they're right. But the World Bank doesn't think so. They're still forecasting growth of 0.5%. And the last 2 quarters, the growth has been a lot stronger than people have thought it would be. You know, if you're growing at 2.9%, you're a long way away from a recession.
Yeah, that is true. Do you have any information about the World Bank's track record?
Oh, you know, I think, you know, all of these organizations, like anything else, probably no better than 50-50.
Sort of like I heard on the news today that it being Groundhog's Day, that basically Punxsutawney Phil's track record is basically a coin toss.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And 6 more weeks of winter, well, that isn't too scary with the winter we've had, right? I mean, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take 6 more weeks of this.
But it's about 6 more weeks anyway, roughly.
That's right.
So,
I mean, it's, you know, it's any one of these things is, you know, whether it's a technical indicator or a reporting bureau or something, you never want to take it as sort of, oh, well, this one said this, so that means that. It's just a collection of indicators that say, okay, you know, you might be right on a bad recession, but you know, so far there's no numbers that say that. That's all.
Okay, very good. And next month, as a special guest, we'll have Punxsutawney Phil, along with Mike. All right, the only action in the interest rates is Canada?
That was the only one. Well, it's the first of the month of the year, you know. We have had...
Since we, you know.
Yeah, and second day of February, we had 3 central banks, yesterday and today, and they all raised rates. The U.S.
Tiny raise,
tiny for the U.S.
compared to the last
Yep.
few.
Yep.
So you think they're not scared anymore? They were scared.
They were scared, but it's interesting when the Fed met yesterday. You know, the market was way down, and then as Powell talked, the market really rallied up a lot. So, you know, maybe they are good, you know, and with some of this economic stuff coming up, maybe the so-called soft landing, maybe they'll be able to accomplish that. It would be the first time ever, but there's a first time for everything.
Is there?
That's what they say.
And of course, the guy over here says, "All right, who's they?"
Well, my doctor is for one of them.
Your doctor says it's the first time for everything.
When I said, you know, you go for your physical and you know, we want to, you get stress test and everything. I said, never had anybody in the family, either side, ever have a heart attack. Well, why can't you be the first one? He said. So I guess there's always a first, right?
Well, we're going to talk about a discussion about next month about, along with Punxsutawney Phil, how Mike
So I
picks
mean,
his doctors.
there has to be a first sometime. So maybe this is the first time where they do it. The Fed does achieve a slowdown of inflation without overshooting it and putting it into a recession. Right?
Well, I hate that comment because right now we are in the middle of a proxy war, which could end up as a world-destroying nuclear war. Now, we've never had one of those.
Sure.
I don't want one.
No, I agree. Neither do I.
So,
but you know,
so,
I mean,
but according to the way you say, it's the first time for everything.
well, there's a right.
Thank you, Mike. I'm not looking forward to it.
Huh, neither am I.
But it's your philosophy.
I use that just to counter all the people who say, "Oh, you know, there's a really bad recession coming." Really? Well, maybe you're right, but I don't believe it yet, and certainly not on anything that's being reported. And what if you're wrong? You know, it's funny. A lot of people, I find, they're so confident in their own opinion, they never factor in, well, what if you're wrong? And like last year was a good indication, right? A lot of people 100% invested, all the names that come to mind, right? And so, you don't have anything not at risk. Oh no, because it's, and this company's going to do that. I say, okay. And, I would sometimes say to them, I know you're right, but what would you do if you weren't right? You have no protection, nothing to, you're 100% invested. You have nothing that is not invested. Oh, well, but if I saw things going bad, I would get out. Okay, now would you get out before you saw things going bad or after they went bad? And there were a couple of cases that I will mention that did just that. They didn't have anything to hedge, and they were wrong. And in a couple of cases, it cost them 6 figures.
Well,
that's the So I'm not saying things are really bad, and I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying it's not signaling with this stuff. So what are you doing if this stuff is right and you're wrong?
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, that's just, why are you trying, we're in the Super Bowl season, so why are you trying to throw 40 and 50-yard passes when if you can run the ball 3 times for 4 times for 3 yards, they can never stop you?
If you know that.
Correct. Right. So why take undue risk?
That is, an aspect of management of sports, like coaches and everything, and actually good quarterbacks too, I guess, working together, that you don't, which risk to take.
Right.
And how much do people know which risk? I would say you come off as kind of a risk-averse guy.
Most people either take not enough risk or they take too much risk.
Okay, that's a good point, yeah.
That's where most people are. And, the answer is always in the middle.
Always?
Yeah,
Always.
always. Because the alternative is
I would agree
you
with
lose
you.
everything.
I would agree with you on percentages, that probably it is more or less wise to probably the middle, because it will come back. But I would say there are occasions where it's probably, if you had perfect knowledge, you would be able to see something that is going to go way outside. And you're right. For the big reason is we don't have perfect knowledge.
Right. Most
and
people don't have
We're
that.
not that smart.
Right.
But sometimes, the world does end.
Huh.
Not often. In fact, it's only happened three times in my lifetime.
Okay.
All right. So oil this remained under 80.
Right.
I mean, that's what WTI, West Texas Intermediate,
Correct.
but it's not Brent.
No.
Okay.
That's much higher.
When you say under 80, is it just kind of meandering there, or
Yeah.
has it gone way down and come
No,
up a bit?
It dropped into the low 70s and then bounced right back.
Okay.
But I think the key is it's not going to 90 yet.
Let's hope it is.
No.
'Cause I remember when it was, I think, in the 08 or someplace around there, where it went up to 140, and all the big banks were buying it and storing it. And where did it go after that? Yeah, it really tanked, and the big boys got us to bail them out.
Right. Well, usually toward the end of a year, you get all these predictions and stuff, and I usually print them out, because usually 6 months in, they're comical. Person with a gigantic title, oil going to 150. Oh, okay. He must know, because he's got like 6 words in his title.
Yeah.
So, I only have 2, but I won't say what they are.
No comment.
And so, where is, he was very confident. So where's oil today? If oil is at 100, all the prognosticators come out and say, oh, it's going to 150. And then when it's at 75, they forget they're 150, or it's going to 50. And people latch on to this like, maybe they're right. But again, what if they're wrong?
Well, yeah, obviously, when you have it, say, like, if it were at 50, and you made the prediction of 150, there's going to be a lot of demand destruction on the way.
Right.
So, did you take that into consideration, Mr. Six Titles?
You don't know. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
You're right. Okay, economy, fourth quarter grew by 2.9%, second straight quarterly gain after 2 straight losses.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. 2 words in your title. What does that mean? And we'll give you a third right here. We'll give you.
Well, I think, if you think about the last, 2 quarters ago before, that was when the Fed was starting to raise rates. Inflation was a lot higher. And through the Fed's action, you'd have to say through the Fed's action, but who knows for sure, didn't get any worse. It actually got better. So what it means, I think, is, you may still get a recession, but you may not. And that's the big thing that, you want to be able to guard against, I think, Hedging your bet that, I know you're never wrong, but you still want to hedge your bet that you could be wrong.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. And now we get to science.
Well, the only thing that really matters,
Yes.
you know.
We will have definitive predictions next month. Actually, what is the date of the
16th, I believe.
of this month?
Yeah.
So we will know. Science will tell us if the world is ending by the end of this month, and we will have that information. Or we may not, because the world will have ended.
Well, we've had a good head of steam. We've had 3 of these indicators work out.
Okay.
So if we can get the big one to work out, then I think all clear.
The big indicator, the scientific indicator,
Yes.
the Super Bowl,
Correct.
Philadelphia versus Kansas City. When an old NFL team like the Eagles wins against the teams that came from the AFC, like the Patriots, who are not in it this year, not even close,
Right.
Kansas City. Shouldn't Kansas City win the first Super Bowl that they?
They played
this-
Green Bay. I don't know if they won that. They did win 2.
Yeah, Green Bay won and Kansas City lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
67, I think, was it?
Yeah, 67.
Yeah.
So if Philadelphia wins, life is going to be wonderful. If Kansas City wins, the world is ending.
Or shall we say you got a 75% chance life will be wonderful.
Yeah, okay. So, let's not go out on a limb. I wouldn't call my broker to sell the house right yet.
Not yet.
All right, so we've done the science.
We have.
The economy itself.
Well, everybody is, everybody's saying, oh, things are really bad. Oh, this is really bad. Okay, I understand. Well, let's look at the numbers. And I understand the numbers may be all phony and whatnot, but we're looking at the same numbers we've looked at for years. So some consistency there, right? Oh, inflation's really, this is going to lead to a bad recession. Okay, maybe it will. Haven't seen it in fourth quarter growth numbers. Haven't seen it in inflation. Inflation is now down to 6.5%. Everyone's going to
The
say...
increase is 6.5%.
Right.
Inflation, the prices didn't decline.
No, you don't want that to happen.
I want that to happen.
You don't want that to happen.
I want that to happen.
We peaked at maybe 10 or 11. Now we're down to inflation rate of 6.5%.
6.5%.
Still high.
Your money is depreciating every day.
Correct.
So we would like to see not just the rate, except Mike tells me the world's ending. If we have inflation go to 0.
It would make it more difficult.
To what?
Well, I think if prices fall, psychologically people stop buying, because why would I? If I knew this microphone price was falling, why would I buy it today? I would wait because it's going to keep falling.
So they
So
buy.
it tends to slow down spending.
You're saying they buy because they know their money is getting worth less.
Right.
That's not, to me, that doesn't sound to me one of a stable society in the long run.
Well, again, I think it's everything in moderation. You need some inflation.
Why?
Well, for the reason to spur purchasing, because otherwise, nobody would buy.
People would never buy anything.
Unless you absolutely had to. Right. Because
I mean, you know why I bought a house?
right.
I needed a place
You
to
needed a
live.
place to live.
I didn't buy it because prices were going up
No.
and down.
No.
So that basically puts the question to your philosophy there of inflation is good.
Some is. Yeah. Like everything's good in moderation. Like, you ever hear that? Your mother ever say that to you? Everything in moderation.
Cyanide in moderation. It's great for you. All right. Mom was very upset when I said that to her.
So I mean, again, you may think things are horrible. They may be. But at least on
Did
these
I ever
numbers
use
that
the
you
word
keep
horrible
looking-
here in this?
No, but people are quick to say, right, well, this year is going to really be bad. Okay, maybe. Now, what are you basing on that? Can't be basing it on any standardized economic data that's come out. There's nothing, I don't care if it's, the only negative is the leading economic indicators, and that's been negative for a long time. But all the others, jobless claims, low, the employment rate has been very positive. Unemployment is low. Of course, they're going to say that the other side is going to say, well, you know why it's low? So many people have left the labor market. Really? Well, in December, the labor market grew by almost 500,000 people. So, again, I think you have to be in the middle, right of the road, as opposed to on the two extremes.
Well, until usually that is to a certain degree true. But what I would, about the inflation, 6.5 is horrible.
It is. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So you can't do a victory dance over that.
Well,
we might disagree about that zero employment,
yeah.
or as the Fed says, target 2%.
Right.
But 6.5
yeah,
is a harsh.
Historically very high, but it's better than it was. And it's moving in the right direction.
Mike Carnevale will be named czar of the Department of Optimism.
If you want inflation to say be 3%, and it was at 10, well, it has to pass through 6 before it's going to get to 3. And so the trend is going in the right direction.
Even though it's still a disaster.
Even though today it's still, historically very high.
Okay. Core, less food and energy. Oh yeah, I never buy food, and the gas station never sees me. I just ride my my shuffleboard or whatever it is, the scooter.
Well, the Fed is looking more toward controlling long-term rates, and food and energy are so volatile that they subtract that out to get.
But over the long term, their volatility is up.
Right.
And that's not good.
Right.
So, okay. But the prices fell 0.5%, 6.2% year on year, lowest since March of 2021, which is not years ago.
Correct.
Core was up 0.1% at 5.5 versus 6.2 year on year from last month.
Right. So the direction, although it's not at a great level, the direction is in the right movement.
As long as they stop before they get to 0%, you're happy.
Right.
Okay, leading economic, in December we're down 1% from 10 components to give us snapshot of the economy. That seems like the only downer for you.
That's been negative for so long. You then have to sometimes wonder, is it really as important as it has been? Because that's been negative for 10 straight months. So you should have seen it drift into a lot of these other indicators, and it hasn't. And so, the question is, why hasn't it? Well, don't know why, but it hasn't.
So we're done with the leading indicators.
No, but I mean, I wouldn't put as much weight into it as maybe you did in the past, because it seems not to be translating into employment or jobless claims or inflation. You would expect all those to be getting worse if you had leading economic indicators, which is 10 different components. Stock market's one of them, but building permits, big ticket items. If those are all negative, why isn't that showing up as higher jobless claims, right? I mean, if big ticket items aren't being purchased, well, why aren't you buying it? Well, maybe it's because you lost your job. Maybe it's because you can't find a job. And you're not seeing that, right? Jobless claims are at they came out today and they're at a 9-month low.
Jobless claims are at a 9-month low.
9-month low.
Employment report up by 223.
Yeah, you only need 150.
Yeah. Labor force grew.
That's usually a good sign.
Okay.
Wages
are up.
Wages are now increasing less, 4.6%. I think it was over 5, was it? Almost 5. And
But they're
unemployment's at a 50-year low.
50-year low.
Year low.
So,
There's a lot of reasons for that, and of course, the optimist is going to say that's great. The pessimist is going to say, well, you know, so many hundreds of thousands of people have just left the job market. They're so disenfranchised. Well, that's possible, but then you want to look at the other unemployment number that doesn't really get a lot of play. It's the U6, and that includes people who are discouraged. And that number's going down too. So the only thing I say is, you know, people who thought the economic world was going to end sometime this year, they may be right, but I think we've gotten a reprieve.
so we will finish this. We're heading
Into the darkness here.
Michael will sing, backed by the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, "Happy Days Are Here Again." It was a good month.
Stay the course.
Stay the course.
Yep.
Okie doke. This has been the Long Hill Report, and with Mike Carnevale. As usual, a spirited half hour. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.